very ugly stain on it, lynching, hanging. And when I was doing some research, there's actually a difference between the short noose and the long noose. The long noose breaks the neck almost instantly. The tongue turns black, the eyes protrude. The short noose is strangulation, suffering, asphyxiation. In the early part of the 20th century, lynching would happen maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I didn't know this about the actual hangman's noose, but there's 13 rounds. And even as this sat on my dining room table all week, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to pull it out. Because to me, this is like a burnt cross, a Klansman's hat. Very powerful symbol in the United States. That I hearken back to the words of Frederick Douglass, impudence. Oftentimes we heard the stories of lynching about some encounter with a white woman, but more often it was impudence that would lead you to a lynching. Standing up for yourself, speaking your ground, standing your ground, speaking your voice. This is usually what happened to you. And for the black man in the United States, this was really, it's really all about sex. It's really not, what the issue was. Just this fear of sex and protecting young white women, really. So it actually kind of fell out of favor because of some statements that Hitler said. He kind of criticized it. He felt like he had a right to. And it kind of fell out of favor because of what he was doing over in Europe. He's kind of pointing the finger at us. And then in 1955, you have the story of Emmett Till. He's the young boy who was from Chicago, and he came down to visit relatives in the South, in Mississippi. And they had picked cotton all day, and went to a store in the afternoon with his friends, and said something to the owner's wife. Either it was, "Hey, baby," or it was a whistle. I've done a lot of research that we're not exactly sure what exactly transpired, but whatever it was, a few days later, some men, including the owner of the store, went to Emmett Till's uncle's house, and they kidnapped him in the middle of the night. They beat him mercilessly. They shot him, and then they wrapped barbed wire around his neck, tied it to an industrial fan that is used for ginning cotton, and threw his body in the Tallahatchie River. 3 days later, he was found, his body decomposing, saturated in water, shipped back to Chicago in a box, and his mother decided to have an open casket funeral. Photographs were printed in Jet magazine, and they were blasted around the world. A light was shone on Mississippi. Some people say this was the turning point of the civil rights movement. This was the spark. This was the moment to be seized. We had it. And I don't just mean we, people of color. I think the world had it. 100 days later, this woman in Alabama decides not to give up her seat on a